And welcome to the September 26th edition of Weather and Climate Chat with Monsoon Mike Regensberger and Dr. Michael Davis. Dr. Davis, welcome to the program.
Good to be back.
Yeah, well, we've got a different feel in the air the past couple of days. Finally, what feels like fall.
Yeah, we had 90 degrees last week, and Sunday, I believe, it was only upper 60s in some locations.
In your defense, it didn't make it to 90, I don't think, and I have to check my records. It came close to 90 that one day, but I think it just fell short. And I know
Wednesday last week.
Yeah, and I know you had said no more 90s, and I think it was just 88, I believe.
Oh, we did hit that 190.
That was the week prior.
The week prior.
Yeah, but last week I think you were safe. I think it was 88 was the highest I saw, but that's still pretty toasty, a good 10 to 15 degrees above normal. But then the front came through over the weekend just as predicted, and at or maybe even slightly below normal temperatures the past couple of days, which feels good.
Yeah, the average this time of year is about 74, 73, somewhere in that vicinity. And we were just about at that yesterday, if not below in some areas.
Cool. And today started out nice, sunny, but now as we were recording this at 11:30, clouds are quickly increasing and lowering. And that's ahead of a system that might not get out of here too quickly and could contribute to this week being something that we haven't seen in a while, more cloudy than sunny.
What's actually going on is you have a high-pressure system off the east that moved offshore this morning, and looks like it's pretty much going to be stalling out because we're starting to get a lot of waves in the jet stream.
Right.
And as this cold front that's swinging through as we speak on Monday gets closer, it's going to pretty much stall out as it sees or interacts with the high pressure, I should say.
Right.
And then there's a low pressure forming just to the northwest of the Great Lakes, which is going to become cut off, as we say in
the old cut-off low,
terms, where essentially it breaks free from the jet stream. And if you do not have that steering mechanism like the jet stream typically does when navigating what systems are going where, if you're essentially removed from that, you sit and spin for days, if not a week, because there's nothing pushing on you.
Now, that's a setup that we haven't seen in quite a while this very long and hot summer. So this would be, if this happens, potentially a dreary setup, but potentially a very good setup because we're very low on rain still, right?
Yes, we're still several inches below normal. We checked numbers off air, and it was about 5 inches or so in Allentown. 6 inches in Allentown, 5 inches in Reading. So Reading's got a little bit more rain than Allentown has, but we're still well below normal for the year. And Wednesday's actually, Tuesday. I keep thinking today's Tuesday for some reason.
Moving it along, that's okay.
Tuesday looks pretty calm in terms of weather-related features, and then Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, that cutoff low kind of drifts our way and meanders over the eastern U.S., bringing us a threat of rain.
So let's back up. Tonight we have the front coming through, and that could contribute to some periods of light rain overnight. National Weather Service going with about 1/10 to 1/4 inch. That seems about right from what I've seen.
Yeah. I would probably go along those lines too.
Yep. Tomorrow we have showers in the morning that should clear out. Looks like we do, before we get into that potentially dreary stretch, do get a day or two of generally dry weather. Most of tomorrow afternoon and into early Wednesday looks generally dry and pretty nice, with temperatures in the low 70s, which is just about where we should be. But then it's beginning Wednesday night into... Well, they're being pretty pessimistic from the National Weather Service. Potentially through Saturday could be that break-off type pattern.
I mean, you need the jet stream to come back down and grab it. Otherwise, it's just going to sit there.
And it'll feel like fall because we're only looking at highs after Wednesday in the mid to upper 60s. It looks like, so that's pretty fall-like.
Yeah, a little bit below average, probably because of all the cloud cover and the chance of rainfall. So if you have a lot of rain, a lot of cloud cover, your maximum temperatures aren't going to get very warm. But on the flip side of that coin, with all the rain and the cloud cover, your low temperatures aren't going to get as low.
That's a good point. Last night, far northern Poconos areas were in the upper 30s. I was in the 40s in Schuylkill County. But you're right. During those rainy days, I'm only seeing lows in the 50s as opposed to 30s and 40s.
I believe some areas of the Adirondacks and Catskills got in the low 20s.
Yeah, they had definitely had their first up frost. They had a good frost up there. And Yeah, it's getting to be that time of year. What is generally, here's a fun topic for you. What's generally our first frost in this area average? Isn't it like around October 10th or so?
It's about maybe early October, somewhere around there.
Okay. So that's something to definitely watch. Now, coincidentally, if you're looking a little bit more long range, I'm not sure if you saw that. It looks like after this cool spout this week, we could get back into a slightly above average pattern again next week, just when we would be looking at a potential frost. I'm seeing highs in the 70s, maybe even pushing 80 at the end of next week, but that's pretty far off.
Well, it goes back to what we were looking at with the Climate Prediction Center, saying that October was looking like it's going to be above average temperature-wise.
Right. So we'll see where that goes. But yeah, I'm looking at both AccuWeather and the Weather Channel and the Climate Prediction Center have next week being above average temperature-wise. So we'll see where that goes.
Yeah, and that doesn't surprise me. I feel like we got a few other warm spells in us before fall ends, but we're not going to get anywhere like the summer type heat.
No, but I wouldn't be surprised, and I'll see if you agree with me, that we could see another 80 somewhere along the way. Yeah, especially with the way this year's been going, that wouldn't surprise me at all. But generally, that's looking like the pattern over the next couple of weeks.
Because what we've been seeing, it looks like we have to wait till November before the temperatures really crash.
Right, and I was looking at AccuWeather's 90-day forecast, which is now up to just about Christmas. Remember when we started doing the whole thing? And I should say that it's not doing too well. AccuWeather's 90-day. I've been tracking it every day. I didn't bring in the stats with you today, but it's gotten pretty bad.
Yeah, I'd imagine.
It's at the point now where if it's 1 day out of the 7 that I consider it on point, that's good. So
this goes to show how much volatility is in these weather models.
That's why I'm not so sure that it's wise that they're doing that 90-day thing. But yeah, the 90 days now up to Christmas, so now we can pretty much know what's going to happen on.
What are they saying on Christmas?
I'm going to pull that up just for fun here. Meantime, while I'm doing this, anything going on in the tropics?
We did have Carl and Lisa. They're both tropical storms out in the Atlantic, but they say what we call fish storms, where they stay out
really
in the ocean
anybody,
and pretty much curved away. I think Carl came pretty close to Bermuda. There were some hurricane watches up for Bermuda, but it pretty much went southeast of the island.
Okay, so and there's another storm out there, I believe you said as well too. The L storm. Did you?
Lisa was further out to sea,
okay,
and it's already curved north and lost tropical characteristics.
So generally not been a very active, tropical season, other than the storm Juliana a couple of weeks, or was it last week or 2 weeks ago?
Julia 2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago. Okay. All right. Well, we'll see where that goes. Still a long time left to go in the tropical season.
Yeah, we got about 2 more months or so to go. Next storm will be Matthew.
Okay. And speaking of Christmas, it's missing it by 1 day. The 90 days go up to Christmas Eve. So Christmas Eve right now is partly sunny and 40 degrees with a low of 15. So that's
all right.
That's a little below. Well,
considering last year it was 78, 79.
Yes, that was a very bad Christmas in my book because I don't like that. People were barbecuing on Christmas Eve, and that was just bizarre. It was Florida-like, but yeah, we'll see. Yeah. But yeah, if that happens, that would be a pretty normal Christmas. So we'll see what happens. So.
Yeah, I would say about 40 or so degrees is pretty much typical for what you're going to find Christmas Eve, Christmas Day.
Okay. But back to just reminding our listeners what we're doing if you don't know what the heck we're talking about. Back in the beginning of the semester at the end of August, we printed out AccuWeather's 90-day forecast, and I've been diligently keeping track of how that's been going over the past couple of weeks, and they got busted quite low on temperatures several times with all that heat. Mm-hmm. But we'll see where it goes. In the end, maybe they could foresee what happens in the long range, like November being a slightly below average month better. So we'll see where that goes.
Yeah, at some point, usually about a week or two out, they just go with climatology. And
True.
Just say, okay, it's probably going to be a little bit warmer, a little bit cooler by the long-term general trends like cold fronts, warm fronts, pressure systems. But generally speaking, they're not going to get these extreme swings in temperature that you get from a day-to-day variability.
Right. Yeah, I have no problem with them doing that for temperatures, but when they start saying that on November 17th it's going to rain in the morning and be sunny in the afternoon, that's where it's like, okay,
or Thanksgiving Day with a bit of ice.
Remember the bit of ice? Yeah, I forgot to see if that's still true or not, but who knows? They might have the last laugh as we're sliding to our turkey dinners. They'll have the last laugh on that one, right?
Thank God, yeah.
We'll see. So, anything else going on in the world of climate right now, or is it fairly quiet?
In terms of climate, there's last week now, the UN said that they would have enough votes to secure the Paris Climate Agreement becoming a legally binding document.
And that's very good news.
Yes, it is very good news.
I remember you telling me last semester that agreement is one of the biggest progresses we've made in a long time.
Yes, there's still some trouble with Paris Climate Agreement, but making it legally binding with having 55 of the signatory countries actually ratify, or 55% of the global emitters on board, makes it go legally binding.
Okay.
And the UN said that they have enough votes to secure that by the end of the year.
So that's very exciting. All right.
The U.S. and China signed, I think, earlier this month.
Okay.
And then Brazil jumped in 2 weeks ago now. Mm-hmm. And there's a few more that are going to be coming on, and we should have that in place by the next election, or the next president be having to deal with a legally binding Paris Climate Agreement.
So that's good.
Yes.
All right. So definitely wonderful things, because it's these small steps that are going to protect our planet. We're not going to cure climate change overnight, but these small things are going to help correct things.
Yeah. I mean, it's always good to have an agreement that curbs carbon emissions, but at the same time, it's pretty much the country's own decision about how much they want to cut back, so make their own pledge, but the amount that they're proposing is insufficient to keep their temperatures below 2 degrees Celsius warming. That was the main goal of Paris, and what's being proposed right now, it doesn't look like we're going to meet that target. It's probably going to be more like 2.5, 3 degrees Celsius. In fact, last year you had locations that were 2 degrees Celsius above normal already.
Wow.
So, therefore, is this a little too late?
Too little, too late. Well, I guess we can't look back and say, well, it might be too late. We just got to try to correct what we can right now, or it's just going to keep getting worse.
Yeah.
We can at least stop it in its tracks.
There's a talk about whether we're getting away from this climate mitigation talk about how we can essentially reduce carbon dioxide and reduce the effects of climate change from anthropogenic sources. And now, instead of climate mitigation, we're getting this talk of climate resiliency.
Okay.
About, look, what we've done already is irreversible. How can we essentially live with it?
To at least stop it in its tracks. We might not be able to go back to the old days, but at least not have it get worse.
Yeah, so how are we resilient to our planet essentially changing?
Okay. All right. Well, that's definitely something to watch. And like I said, it's an interesting election year as well, too. And then hopefully this is all solidified by the time our next president gets into office in January, and he or she will have to work with that.
I don't want to get political here, but I would really appreciate it if we discussed climate change at this presidential debate.
I will be watching, and I was thinking the same thing. I hope that is one of the top things, and we don't focus on other issues that are basically, as you and I always say, wouldn't be issues because we wouldn't have a planet,
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, we won't get any more political than that. Let's just watch tonight. And by the time, if you're listening to this after the debate, you've already watched it. Hopefully it was discussed. So
I sure hope so.
We'll see. All right. Dr. Michael Davis, Monsoon Mike Regensberger, we are here. Thank you so much for joining us once again, and we'll see you back here next Monday.
Sounds good.
Okay.